Welcome to Thomas's comparison driving lounge. Today here, starting with the Honda E, and of course these digital mirrors or the cameras, they are one of the highlights here. And you know, I have been criticizing them a lot in the Audi e-tron because the monitors were placed up here and you always had to look down. Here they are placed, more in your line of sight, so you are actually looking less down than in traditional mirrors, and that's actually okay. So here in this case, I think they're actually quite good. They're not that necessary, but they're actually quite decent. Maybe also see that here now. Can you see that? Yeah, you can. Here on the right side, there's no blind spot, but there's still an optional blind spot monitor, which then appears right here in this area. But really great visibility to the rear. You have a good feeling, good understanding of what's happening behind you. So I'm kind of surprised by that and really positively surprised. Very cool. And then, a little bit of screen overload definitely while driving, and I think also the solution to the control input here with the screen is not ideal. Here the volume knob is rather for the passenger. I can also control it on the steering wheel. That's a little bit easier then. But the most important thing here, and that's also why I started with city driving, it's a super fun vehicle, super agile in the slalom here. It's very short and just awesome to drive it, and you feel the square dimensions it has on the outside. It has a kind of retro feel. I did activate the seat heating here with my niece. I think I showed it on the IAA Motor Show as well. Here, it's like, yes. The seat heating control with my niece. That's awesome skills, right? Yeah. This car is definitely delivering you a lot of fun. You also have the sports mode. In the sports mode, the steering gets a little bit stiffer and there's more throttle input as soon as you hit it. It's pretty quick. Not as quick as the ID.3, but the main difference to me is the design on the exterior somehow also reflects the driving. Here you more feel this square cage, and this gives you a little bit more retro feeling, to me at least. And of course, the ID.3 is a little bit quicker and it's definitely longer. That is the main driving difference. Here, for the city, for city use only, I think it's the better vehicle. It's just shorter and you can find a narrow parking spot way easier. It can also be alternative for a Smart 4.2 or something. And it's just so much fun to ease it around. At the same time, this seating position is super comfortable, upright. These great fabric seats here, they are awesome. So you have a small vehicle, but there's no compromise on comfort. We talked about the cameras, but the other visibility around, just by your own eyes, all the way around, is awesome. And it's just super practical. So this car brings feelings of more, let's say, small base vehicles from 20 years ago or something, at the same time all interpreted by modern technology, and that's really awesome. Again, the infotainment system could be controlled better, I think, but yeah, that's maybe me, I don't know. Then, one pedal driving or rolling. Either rolling or with button press here in the low, recuperation, stronger one. Not as strong one as with some other EVs we know, but you do feel the deceleration, and you can also control it here at the steering wheel. Here, make it a little bit less, or left side a little bit more, and then to the final third stage, which automatically gets activated when you press this single recuperation button there in the middle part. So many details are also really, really unique, and I just have to say, also from driving, I love this vehicle. Still a little bit irritated by the infotainment system. It could be a little bit easier, I think, but besides that, I just love driving this vehicle. And by the way, if you want to play with your passenger, with the infotainment system, here, there you can switch around which is displayed on the left and the right, also while driving, and have maybe like a game with the passenger there. Yeah. And talking about games, let's put it to sports mode, and we close this driving part with the final acceleration from 30 kilometers an hour, and we'll drop in when it's safe. let's see. It's not safe. And let's go. That's 100 kilometers. And there it is, 150 kilometers an hour, top speed. The official one is 145, but I mean the tachometer always goes a little bit further, just for that you can't, complain afterwards. And I mean, yeah, now quite some wind noise definitely here, but the car is still stable. As for the handling and so on, suspension here shows that it's not that stiff actually at higher speeds. Yeah, but the car doesn't feel that much at home at these speeds, definitely, but yeah, quite okay for that. So let's drop to a reasonable speed where I don't hear that wind noise. I mean, it's also windy outside, you have to say, today, so 120 kilometers an hour, that's more, where the car feels at home, definitely, or even lower than that. A little bit on the brakes here, 1 kilometers an hour, that's better. And of course, high speeds not really meant to do with this vehicle here. And if we drive the car as we have driven it here now, then we're rather at about 100 kilometers or 60 miles of range. So, wow, a huge range drop, definitely. So that is the one thing about this vehicle. It's so much fun, it's so unique, but the range, really have to say, is absolute rubbish. And now driving the ID.3, and the first thing that comes to my mind is, of course, it's a little bit different seating position, and of course the whole chassis feels different. The hardware that went into this vehicle is really awesome. It's a great chassis, great platform, and it's also super stiff, and it's also a lot of fun to drive. Of course, you feel that the wheelbase is longer, so the Honda E feels more city-like because it's just a shorter vehicle. But this one here, considering the space you have on the inside, it already feels really sporty and is a lot of fun to drive. Also, the steering is, for both vehicles, very precise, very direct. So very happy with the steering, again, for both vehicles, how the reaction is there. Throttle input is a little bit more spontaneous here with the ID.3. It has a little bit more power, and as I said, acceleration figure here in this very comparison. This one, the 204 horsepower version, a second quicker in the acceleration, and also a little bit higher top speed. The crucial thing is really the range, which is kind of double here in the ID.3. This will be the most crucial thing. You can use this vehicle here inside the city. It's short enough, but you can also use it on the motorway. We'll soon, of course, also head on out to the motorway, show the performance there, and also noise insulation and so on. This is the cool thing about the vehicle. You can have different purposes for it and not only city driving. So definitely also a lot of fun. The overview is not as good as in the Honda E when I look to the side, front, and so on. But you also have a good blind spot monitor that is more crucial than here with this vehicle, and normal mirrors. I'm always happy with normal solutions in a way. The infotainment system, meanwhile, better to control also while driving. Of course, it's not the best thing, and also for controlling the temperature. I still prefer the manual knobs in the Honda E, but since the software update, definitely better reaction times now. It's faster and overall easier than to control since the recent update. Here at lower speeds, you feel, there's a little bit more silence here in this vehicle already, and I guess it will be even more obvious when we then get to some higher speeds very soon. Suspension-wise, by the way, the ID.3 will be available with the DCC, not equipped with this vehicle yet. So then the adaptive suspension will improve the comfort. Here with the base suspension is doing a good job, it's fine. But we have the 20-inch wheels mounted here, and that can be rough at times. So base suspension plus 20-inch wheels is not a setup I would recommend. That definitely reduces the riding comfort. It's overall fine, but at times when we have some bumps in the road, a little bit too stiff, I think. Well, and then, of course, recuperation. Either you have a normal D driving mode, lift the foot of throttle, it just rolls. Or push it here to the front, D-driving mode, lift the throttle, and then there's recuperation. But once again, not super strong, not like in the Tesla, for example, but definitely notable, and I also recommend to keep it in the B mode. And this one here has some quite good punch, so it's definitely also suitable to get on the motorway. And the rear-wheel drive concept for both vehicles ensures really small turning circles. That's cool. Of course, the Honda E, a little bit shorter vehicle, even better, but this one here already with a very narrow or small turning circle. This is one of the big advantages of the rear drive concept, so you have more inclination than of the front wheels, and of course more driving fun when you get out of the corners. You just don't have this typical pull from the front effect, but the push from the rear, and that's very cool. And now the last test for today is the speed test, the high motorway speed test here with the ID.3. And here we go. We also start from 30 kilometers an hour. Let's go. $100. And now at 160 kilometers an hour, 163 it's doing. Yep. So around 100 miles per hour. That's actually quite okay. Then he has a top motorway speed, and I feel that the noise insulation is better than in the Honda E. Of course, this is a speed where it's also not too pleasant to be with. Yeah. Then let's hit the recuperation. Just lift my foot off the throttle. And here at 130 kilometers an hour, that's okay drivable speed. And here you feel definitely way more silent and definitely better behaving at higher speeds. Here also the rather stiff setup of suspension and the bigger wheels play a good role because the car is not shaking up at all. So very good also from the handling at higher speeds. So definitely on the motorway, the ID.3 wins it, both in range and also in the driving dynamics, in the agility, also at higher speeds, and also in the noise insulation. Even more so proves the point that the Honda E is the super fun city vehicle. The ID.3, however, is an all-rounder vehicle with a good range, especially then if you even step it up the game and get it with a bigger battery. You can have this as the primary vehicle and it serves a lot of different purposes. It's definitely an EV that is very well done. So driving-wise, from the driving parts, what would you conclude? Looking forward to your opinion. But what's my conclusion? Let's find out. And now to our conclusion for today, the big EV comparison of the small electric vehicles. Recently we've shown you also the Model 3 from Tesla versus the Polestar 2. Also tune into this review if you haven't seen it yet. But the conclusion here for today has been so much fun. I hope you enjoyed it the way that we did. The Honda E, design-wise, the king clearly to me. I wish VW had built a Golf 1 electric vehicle styling-wise. That would have been so amazing. So the range and the technology, the chassis of the ID.3, but with the design of the Honda E, that would be my wish for today. Is it also yours? Tell me in the comments. The ID.3, more this roundish design. On the interior, also the Honda E leads it to me because this very cool and Scandinavian design, gray fabric, and also with the screens and so on. A rare case of a great integration of digital camera mirrors. However, it also boosts up the price. Probably it would have been more clever to leave it with normal mirrors than overall. And a little bit of screen overload it is as well, you have to say. And the software, the infotainment could be a little bit easier to use, I think. Infotainment system in the ID.3 finally updated now. That's great news. In our first test it was rather rubbish. Now you can finally use it quite properly, and you see that they are also working on that. So big hope for all also existing ID.3 customers, and also for everyone like Skoda, Seat Golf, like Seat Leon, VW Golf, Skoda Octavia. They will also receive updates, and great news that they have been working on that. Rear bench, usable with the ID.3. This one here rather a two-seater with emergency seats on the rear and also smaller trunk. So the question is, for what purpose do you use the vehicle? This is a pure city vehicle because the range is so low Yeah, I mean, maximum 200 kilometers or 125 miles, rather way lower. This one here in the middle battery, 400 kilometers max or 250 miles, a little bit less than in winter times, and even more than with the bigger battery. So the ID.3 can be a primary vehicle, and you can do everything with that, especially in the biggest battery version. This is a solely city vehicle. You recharge at home, use it for city drives, and that's it. So if you want that fancy stuff, you know, and this car is so much fun, and I have to say it is more fun than the ID.3, although this one already drives very well. So this to me, the super fun car, but only if you have city use only and you are totally fine, you know that the range is hardly existent at all. Then it's a use case. Other than that, price performance wise, the ID.3 wins it overall because it's the more, you know, useful vehicle, I have to say. It also has some fun elements, and the interior is also very interesting, but definitely coolness factor goes to the Honda E, and on paper the ID.3 definitely wins it from all the facts considered. So what do you think? Really looking forward to your comments about these cars. Which one would you pick and why? Really looking forward to your opinion. I hope you enjoyed this review. See you next time.